Damron here. In today's video, I want to share all about insulin resistance. This is sort of like a secret, kind of under the surface thing that's affecting a lot of women and their hormones. So stay tuned to learn the biggest symptoms you might be struggling with insulin resistance. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, hit that button to be notified anytime I post new content related to women's health, hormones, or holistic health. Okay, so I talk about insulin a lot here, and I want to just share with you one more time what it is. So basically, when we're talking about hormonal health, like sex hormonal health and stress hormonal health, I want you to think about it as a pyramid. The very foundation of this pyramid is going to be insulin, our blood sugar hormone, cortisol, our stress hormone, and adrenaline, our fight or flight hormone. When the three of those things are in a pretty good place, the rest of these hormones up the chain or up the pyramid can do better as well. So things like DHEA, pregnenolone, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, melatonin, all of these other sort of chemicals and hormones that we want to work well will do better if cortisol, adrenaline, and insulin are in a good place. So today we're going to share about insulin. So basically what happens with insulin is insulin's a hormone produced in our pancreas, and when we eat carbohydrates, sugar, our body will produce a bunch of insulin to basically go in and mop up that blood sugar and store that either in our liver or muscles first. That's called our glycogen stores. And depending on the person, that's around 500 calories. Or when that's full, store it as body fat because that's an unlimited storage for us. So that's kind of what insulin does. And it also dictates, like I mentioned, a bunch of other hormones like DHEA, testosterone, inflammation, and creates a ton of other symptoms in our body. So I want to go over the symptoms first and what we can be looking for to maybe suggest that we need some blood testing for this to figure out what's going on. And then I'm going to give you at the end of the video what to do to either treat this or prevent this. So number one symptom is going to be elevated fasting blood sugar over about 100. So each year, hopefully you're going to the doctor and getting your yearly physical. And if your doctor gives you a fasting blood glucose and that's over 100 consistently, that would be a sign that we kind of need to work on balancing our blood sugar a little bit better. There's also a blood test that's called your hemoglobin A1C. Hemoglobin A1C is basically like a 90-day snapshot into your fasting blood glucose. And so whereas that elevated or that fasting blood glucose is just one number, which can be very effective over how much we ate, when we ate, how many carbs we ate, how we slept, our stress level, all kinds of different things. The A1C is a better, like, broader snapshot into this. And so in Western medicine, they recommend that a number of 5.7% or higher is actually in more of like the pre-diabetic range, and then above 6.5 puts you in the type 2 diabetes range. I personally like to see it, and a lot of other holistic professionals like to see it around like 5.1, or even a little bit lower. In the 4s becomes very difficult to see for a lot of people, but there are people who have in the 4s too. Okay, so some physical signs that you might notice if you're having some blood sugar issues are skin tags. Skin tags are actually related to this. So if you're noticing a lot of extra skin tags on your body, all of a sudden you may consider looking at insulin resistance and chatting with your doctor about that. Dark patches of skin. So maybe a lot of people get them like right in here. If you're noticing dark patches of skin, that might be another indicator. Insomnia. I just did a video last week all about the 3 hormones involved in insomnia and poor sleep, and we talked all about how blood sugar can be a part of that. So a lot of people with insulin resistance will actually start to kind of wake up between the hours of around 1 and 3. If that's you, you might consider looking at your blood sugar. You also might notice abdominal obesity. That can be a sign of insulin resistance and a lot of storage of body fat. You also might notice acne and large pores. When people have insulin resistance, sebum, which is the oil produced that lubricates the skin, is actually overproduced and can create acne. Sometimes in women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, there can be a metabolic component to this or insulin resistance. There are 4 different types of PCOS, so it doesn't always have to be an insulin resistance type of PCOS. But in a large majority of cases of women with that, there is an insulin resistance kind of component to that. In addition to body fat storage and regulating blood sugar, insulin is also involved in hair growth. So women who have a lot of insulin resistance can start to create more testosterone, which can start to create a pattern of male baldness. And that usually looks kind of like your part is widening right here, or you might be having some receding hairline. We also might notice some hair growth on like our chin or lip. Usually they are darker, like kind of coarser black hairs. So if you're starting to experience that, definitely look at your testosterone, DHEA, your androgen levels, and your insulin levels. Insulin also tells the kidneys when to hold on to sodium in water. And so sometimes in people with insulin resistance, you may notice swollen ankles and puffy hands as well. You also might notice carb and sugar cravings, kind of that feeling of hangry, like you've eaten, but you're hungry all the time. You're hungry an hour or two after eating, craving a lot of sugar. That can also be a sign of dysregulated blood sugar. There's this trend now in holistic health on social media where people are obsessing about every single blood sugar spike in their day, and they're trying to not get these blood sugar spikes because we're told they're bad, and there are continuous glucose monitors for people who are not at risk of diabetes or their doctors aren't monitoring it. There are other companies. And I actually don't think those are necessary. I don't think we need to be obsessed with every single spike in our blood sugar. In a healthy individual, that's normal and to be expected and just fine. Obviously, what I mentioned before is we want to do some things in our overall lifestyle to help kind of manage that and make our body more sensitive to insulin, which I'm going to share with you right now. So the number one thing with insulin sensitivity is to eat for your energy balance. It's important to know how many calories and about what that looks like on average each day for what you kind of need to either maintain weight or, if necessary, lose weight. We don't want to be overeating a ton. We want to kind of know what we're doing in terms of the quantity of food, and that will really help with insulin resistance. The second thing is to fill your food, your plate, with a protein, fat, and fiber. I've mentioned this several times, but about 20 to 30 grams of protein for most people, 1 to 2 tablespoons of fat for most people, like healthy fats, and then about 8 to 10 grams of fiber is a really great starting place for most people to keep hunger, energy, cravings, mood, and sleep all in a really great place, which means that our metabolism's doing well, our blood sugar's doing well, and internally our body's doing well and is healthy. The other things that I want you to remember is to strength train. When we strength train, more muscle mass is going to include increasing our insulin sensitivity. So the more muscle mass we have, the better our body responds to insulin, the more food we can eat, the more demands we can handle. So increase muscle mass by strength training. Walking is an amazing way of regulating blood sugar amongst literally everything else. There's been like a myriad of studies that have come out recently all about the benefits of walking in terms of dementia, which also dementia and Alzheimer's have been kind of studied and are starting to be called type 3 diabetes. So blood sugar definitely plays a huge role in our cognition, our memory, Alzheimer's disease, those types of things. And I think as life continues, we're going to see a whole lot more research and study into that, but there's a good amount of research that shows that too. So walking is wonderful. If that's the only movement you get in the day, a 30-minute walk each day is such a gift to yourself. The other thing is minerals. We don't talk about minerals when we talk about blood sugar in a lot of areas. So minerals include that are helpful in blood sugar regulation are magnesium, potassium, and chromium. My suggestion to my patients is to do an adrenal cocktail each day. It's a super simple way of getting in whole food vitamin C, which is great for the adrenal glands. If we're under a lot of stress, we're also going to run the risk of becoming a little bit hypoglycemic because the stress response takes glucose to fuel itself. So whole food vitamin C to help support the adrenals, sodium and potassium, that is what's basically in an adrenal cocktail. So what you can do is on Welevate, there's a product that's called Jigsaw Health Adrenal Cocktail. It's just a powder. I drink it every single day. Or a tastier way to do it is to make it yourself with something like 2 to 4 ounces of orange juice, 4 to 6 ounces of coconut water, and about 1/4 a teaspoon of sea salt. That's a really nice way of getting in all of those vitamins and minerals that we need for healthy blood sugar balance. Chromium is also in several different foods, such as orange juice, grape juice, whole wheat flour, beef. There's all kinds of things. So again, when you do an adrenal cocktail, you're actually getting your chromium too, which is all around really helpful for blood sugar balance. The next thing that's really helpful, you guys, is sleeping. And I know sometimes it's a chicken and the egg thing where if you have insulin resistance, it's actually hard to sleep, and then insulin resistance causes insomnia. And so remember that if that's not an impact for you, make sure that you're getting in your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And if it is an impact to you due to insulin resistance, start working on these other things with magnesium and glycine, inositol. There's all kinds of great things that are great for blood sugar balancing and sleep. Of course, work with a medical professional first. This is not medical advice, but those things can be really helpful at getting sleep, and that will help you reset your insulin level. I don't know about you, but I definitely notice when I haven't slept great the night before, definitely craving more carbohydrates, definitely more fatigued, definitely want to eat more and hungrier. All of those things are off due to not sleeping quite as well as we need to. And then the last thing, you guys, like I mentioned earlier, is stress management. When we're stressed, like I said, our body will use glucose to kind of fuel that stress response. So working on the stress stuff that we talk about on this channel all the time, meditation, yoga, looking at perfectionism, people-pleasing, boundaries, urgency culture, overwork, overwhelm, all of that stuff is immensely helpful. Working with a therapist, going on walks, exercising, kind of like what we talked about earlier. All of these things are really helpful for our stress management as well. If you're struggling with hormonal imbalances, insulin resistance, sex hormone stuff, PCOS, period problems, low energy, adrenal fatigue, thyroid conditions, digestive issues, I have a course for you that will go over all of it. It's called Heal Your Hormones Masterclass, and in this course, we go over all the unique hormonal imbalances people can have, how to know what you have, the symptoms and issues with each one, how to test your hormones. And then I go through the 5 pillars to hormone health to teach you exactly holistically how to heal your hormones depending on your own unique hormonal imbalance. So if you want more information on that, go to alliedamron.com/heal. I've had hundreds of women go through it. It's my most successful course and highly sought out. So go check that out for more info. Also, guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, hit that button to be notified anytime I post new content relating to women's health, hormones, or holistic health. I'll see you guys in the next one.